Fireside, the best grilling shop in town. Fireside, I think I'm gonna go on down.
Hi guys, this is Chris at Fireside Outdoor Kitchens, and hopefully you just finished watching our last video on how to trim a brisket and get it ready for your smoker. And now here we are at our next step in the process, which is admittedly a pretty simple one: seasoning it. Not a whole lot more to it than taking your favorite rub or rubs and applying it to the piece of meat in an even fashion. And I think that there can be a little bit of confusion about seasoning if you're a beginner. And I'd like to give you 2 points of consolation there. One is there are a lot more important steps and things to get right when cooking a brisket than the seasoning. The seasoning really, it's not going to make it or break it. Trimming is pretty important. Hitting your times and temperatures, very important. So I would worry about those 2 things before you worry about the seasoning that you're going to use, because frankly, you know, the Texans like salt and pepper. Here in Georgia, we get all sorts of different flavors. An Asian-inspired, you know, Chinese 5-spice rub could be just as good. So don't worry about that too much. If you still have some hesitation, though, go to your local barbecue accessory supplier. If you're here in town, in Augusta, come see us at Fireside, and find a rub that says brisket on it. Pretty simple, right? Or beef. And that's going to be a rub that really probably won't lead you too far astray. Today I have some of my favorite beef and brisket rubs here for you to see, but what we're going to use today is Oak Ridge Barbecue Black Ops Brisket Seasoning. This is a brisket specific seasoning, but again, that does not mean that it's not good on other things. It's very good on other things, frankly, but it's also great on a brisket. And if you just don't want to worry about selecting the perfect flavor profile or worrying about getting it wrong, this is a good one to pick up. It's going to make it really simple for you. So really all that we're going to do is we're going to just evenly sprinkle it all over this. If you remember from our trimming video, what we did is we trimmed out the big pockets of fat between the flat and the point. So make sure not to forget about those areas. They can be a little bit hidden if you're not paying attention. So make sure to get it on here as well as on here. And some of you may be thinking about binders and what to put on here to get that rub to adhere. I don't think that binders are terribly important. And when we're just putting one rub on, this has enough moisture where that rub's going to adhere just fine. If you really want to develop a big thick bark, perhaps use multiple applications of your rub and give a little bit of time in between those applications for that rub to sweat in. Sweating in is where you start to see some of the moisture from the piece of meat come through that first layer of rub. That's when you know it's time to put your second layer on. Personally, I don't think it's all that necessary to bother with that, but again, it's your preference. It's not going to make a whole lot of difference one way or the other. So we're just gonna go ahead and start shaking it on there. You want to get an even coat. You want to get a pretty heavy coat, but you don't want it caked on necessarily. I want to kind of try and hide the meat that's under there so that when I look down at the brisket, I am seeing rub, at least initially, and not meat. That lets you know that you're putting an appropriate amount on there. Remember, we're going to lift up, get it in here as well. I'll flip over to the other side to get that side. Make sure that you are getting the edges too. That's some of the best part when you're first starting to carve your finished brisket, and I'm usually the one doing that, so I feel it's my job to test it and, you know, make sure it's safe for everybody to eat. And I love one of these pieces on the end that has a disproportionately heavy application of smoke and rub, and it's a treat. So I'm just going around and getting all the edges here. All right, that's pretty good for that side. You can see now how can't really see too much raw meat there. And it's mostly rub. In a few minutes that's going to sweat in, but that's probably pretty good for now. Let's flip it over and do the other side. you get some clumps, just break them up, sprinkle them on. Getting all the underside here, inside that cavity where we trim the fat out, just as important as the top and the bottom. And just about there, I think. A lot of people ask at this point, how long do you want to leave that rub on? How long do you want to let it sit? A lot of people are going to tell you a lot of different things about that answer. Personally, I don't think it matters a whole lot. There are times where I will take this piece of meat straight from here at this moment without any waiting and put it right on the smoker, and the results that I get are going to be just as good as if I let it sweat in for a little while. Honestly, you know, we're busy. If you need to get it right on the grill, get it right on the grill. If you want to let it sweat in a little bit and let it sit and kind of bloom a little bit, if you will, then that's fine too. Don't be afraid to do that. I will tell you though that one thing I think that you shouldn't do is let that sit on there for too long. There is salt and sugar in a lot of these rubs, and they can have a curing effect to a piece of meat, and you don't want it to be sitting on there for hours or days. Otherwise, you may end up with a cured brisket, and that's not what we're going for here. We want a nice barbecue brisket. So from no time to a little bit of time, I think is an appropriate time for that rub to sit on there, but not too terribly long. That's about all we've got. Pick your favorite rub. Don't let anybody tell you that there's a right or a wrong rub. If you like a particular flavor profile, go for it. Get a nice even coat on there. Get all sides of it, and get it on your smoker. And we'll be showing you that one next. Thanks for seeing us at Fireside. This is Chris. Take care.
Fireside, the best grilling shop in town.